All right, so welcome back to Talk Tickers. We're doing a deep dive today that I'm actually super excited about.
Yeah, this one is it's definitely a fascinating one.
It is, because our mission here, as always, is to take these dense Wall Street earnings calls, these transcripts full of jargon, and translate them into plain language for retail investors.
Right. Find the actual actionable insights.
Exactly. And today we're doing a rapid fire, a really data forward look at the Q2 2026 earnings call for BK Technologies.
Ticker symbol BKTI.
Yes, BKTI. And look, I want to jump right into the first pillar here, which is the headline numbers. Expectations versus reality, basically.
Sure, let's do it.
So top line growth. They reported $23.4 million in revenue for the quarter, which is, that's an 11% year-over-year increase.
Right, which for a hardware manufacturer in the public safety space is, it's aggressive. That's a strong beat.
It really is.
Yeah.
But I want to actually cut through the top line and talk about the earnings per share, the EPS.
Okay, yeah. The translation there is important.
Right, because GAAP net income was, 79 cents a share?
Yeah, 0.79.
But the management kept pointing to the non-GAAP adjusted EPS of $1.01. So $1.01. Can you just sort of cut through the jargon for us? Like, why the difference, and what does that $1.01 actually tell us?
Yeah, absolutely. So to get from that 79 cents to the $1.01, you have to strip out a couple of non-cash and kind of one-time structural things.
Okay.
The first one is standard. It's stock-based compensation.
Right. Everybody does that.
Right, exactly. But the second piece is really interesting. There was a $560,000 increase in their income tax provision.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and that alone impacted the GAAP EPS by about 14 cents.
So wait, a tax hit. Usually if I see a massive tax hit, I'm thinking, uh-oh, that's a red flag.
Well, normally, yes, but in this specific case, it's actually a sign of maturity. So when a company has been running lean, or maybe unprofitable for years, they build up these tax advantages. But as they scale and become highly profitable, which BKTI is doing, they burn through those advantages.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, they basically return to a normalized corporate tax rate. So stripping that out gives you the $1.01, which is a much truer reflection of their actual core business engine.
Okay, that makes total sense. So the core engine is humming. But the thing that really jumped out to me, like the absolute star metric of this whole transcript, was the margins.
Oh, the gross margin.
Yeah, gross margin hit 51.9%.
Yep.
That's a massive, 445 basis points of expansion compared to last year.
It's huge for hardware.
Right. I was thinking about this, and the only analogy I could come up with is like, imagine a restaurant that's been selling, cheap burgers for a decade.
Okay.
And suddenly their margins skyrocket because they figured out how to sell high-end, Wagyu steaks to the exact same customer base.
That's actually a pretty perfect way to look at it.
But my question for you is, looking at the data, is this a permanent menu change for them? Or is this just a one-off fluke quarter?
No, it's definitely the stake. It's a permanent change.
Right. Management
specifically called this out as a favorable product mix. The stake in your analogy is the BKR 9000.
The new radio.
Exactly. It's their high-tier, handheld, multiband radio. State and local public safety agencies are just aggressively adopting this thing.
So what's driving that? Like, why now? Why is everyone suddenly buying the expensive stake?
It's a structural shift in the industry. For decades, these first responders, police, fire, EMS, they were using older single-band land mobile radio systems.
LMR, right?
Right, LMR. And the problem with single band is that, say, the police are on a VHF band and the fire department is on UHF.
Oh, they can't talk to each other.
Literally cannot communicate, even if they're standing a block apart at the same emergency.
That's insane.
It's a massive vulnerability. So the BKR 9000 is multiband. It solves that interoperability crisis. Different agencies can finally just talk to each other seamlessly.
Okay, so that explains the demand. But I want to push back on something because as I was reading the transcript, I noticed their backlog isn't piling up.
Yeah.
In traditional manufacturing, you want a huge backlog, right? It signals future revenue. If you don't have a backlog, it usually means demand is falling off a cliff. So is this a warning sign for BKPI?
I know exactly why you'd think that, but in this case, it's actually a massive flex.
A flex? How?
Yeah. So BKTI completely shifted their model in 2024. They moved to contract manufacturing.
Okay.
So instead of trying to build everything in their own factories, struggling with supply chain bottlenecks, they partnered up.
So they outsourced the actual assembly.
Exactly. And because of that, they can maintain stock and ship incredibly fast. They basically have total supply chain elasticity now.
Oh, so they don't have a backlog because they're just fulfilling orders instantly.
Precisely. They turn those orders into cash immediately rather than letting the money just sit trapped in a backlog queue for 6 months.
Wow. Okay. And that cash conversion is real because looking at the balance sheet, cash is king right now.
Oh, yeah. Their cash position is incredible.
They reported a record $29.9 million cash balance.
With zero debt, by the way. Zero debt.
Zero debt. And $19 million in trailing 12-month after-tax free cash flow. That's a 49% year-over-year jump.
It's a highly efficient machine they've built.
But look, hoarding cash is great. It's a nice safety net. But investors, retail investors specifically, want to know how management is actually going to use that cash to fuel future growth, right?
Right. You don't buy a stock just so they can sit on a bank account.
Exactly. So let's move to the third section here. Management guidance. What does the future look like?
Well, they reiterated their 2026 targets, which is always a strong signal halfway through the year.
Okay, and those numbers were at least $90 million in revenue.
Yep.
Gross margin staying at 50% or higher, and $3.55 in non-GAAP adjusted EPS for the full year.
Which is phenomenal. But the real growth story, the future, is the BKR 9500.
Right, the in-vehicle radio.
Yeah. So John Suzuki, the CEO, shared this incredible anecdote on the call.
Oh, about the pre-orders.
Yeah. Customers have placed over 200 purchase orders for this new BKR 9500 in-vehicle radio sight unseen.
Sight unseen. That's wild. For a hardware product that hasn't even passed FCC testing yet.
Exactly. It's currently in FCC testing right now. They expect customer deliveries in the first half of 2027, but it just shows you how desperate these agencies are to complete that multiband ecosystem. They have the 9000 on their belt, now they need the 9500 in the dashboard.
Okay, but here's where it gets really interesting to me, because BKTI is clearly moving beyond just hardware.
Yes. The software pivot.
Right. They talked about this whole software ecosystem, BK1NE.
Mm-hmm.
And specifically, there are two pieces to this that I think are fascinating. First is BKR Play.
BKR Play, yeah. Launching in January 2027.
Right. And from what I understand, it's a tethering solution. So it uses Bluetooth to connect a responder's radio directly to their commercial smartphone.
Exactly, because think about it. When an officer leaves their vehicle, they lose that high bandwidth Wi-Fi dome that the cruiser provides.
Yeah.
BKR Play bridges that gap. It lets the radio use the smartphone's broadband network to transmit heavy data.
Okay, and the second piece is this partnership with Tango Tango.
Yes, this is a massive licensing agreement.
Which brings BKTI's push-to-talk over cellular, their PTT-TAC tech, to, what was the number? 1,500 agencies?
1,500 agencies and over 35,000 active users.
35,000 active users. I mean, to me, this sounds exactly like Apple's playbook.
How so?
Well, you know, Apple hooks you with the hardware, the iPhone.
Right.
But then they lock you in with the App Store, iCloud, Apple Music. They get you on those recurring software and licensing fees. It sounds like BKTI is trying to hook these agencies with the multiband radios and then lock them in with BK11 and Tango Tango.
That is exactly what they're doing. And Wall Street loves recurring software revenue. It commands a way higher valuation multiple than just transactional hardware sales.
So bringing it all together, the bottom line, let's give our actionable takeaways here.
Sure.
What's the verdict? Are we bullish or bearish on BKTI based on this Q2 call?
I mean, we have to take a definitive stance here, and my stance is unequivocally bullish.
I'm right there with you, 100% bullish.
The main reason for me, the why behind it, is the return on invested capital, the ROIC.
Right, they cited that on the call.
It's sitting above 45%.
45% for a hardware company.
It's almost unheard of. It shows extreme capital efficiency.
Yeah.
They are successfully executing their Vision 2030 plan by just riding this massive multi-year tailwind of multiband radio adoption.
Yeah, so for anyone listening, you know, any retail investors holding or considering this stock, the actionable advice is really clear. The hardware sales today are funding the software future of tomorrow.
Exactly.
You have to keep a very close eye on the early 2027 rollout, both the BKR 9500 hardware and that BKR Play tethering system. Because if that software adoption actually grows, that recurring revenue could fundamentally change the stock's valuation multiple.
It changes the entire narrative of the company.
Right. But I do want to leave our listeners with a final provocative thought, something to chew on that kind of builds on everything we've talked about.
Okay, lay it on me.
Think about BKR Play. It successfully allows first responders to seamlessly tether their on-person radios to their smartphones.
Right.
Using commercial broadband.
Right.
So if that works perfectly, will that eventually make expensive traditional in-vehicle radios, like the highly anticipated 9500, entirely obsolete?
Oh, wow.
Right. I mean, is BKTI cleverly building the software ecosystem that is eventually going to cannibalize its own future hardware sales?
That is the classic innovator's dilemma right there. Do you disrupt yourself before someone else does?
Exactly. And that is what investors need to be watching over the next couple of years.
Truly fascinating stuff.
It really is. All right, well, that wraps up our deep dive into BKTI's Q2 earnings. We'll be back next time with another transcript breakdown.
See you then.